But, all right, so it's my pleasure. I'm going to get a chance to introduce our speaker tonight. And Tyrone Griffin has spent 2 decades in the insurance industry. By the way, my son may want to talk to you later. He's looking at risk management insurance industry. Just got into touch. He found himself in career transition, so he's been one of us, right?
He
is one of us. Okay, so he's in transition as well now. So we all been there, got t-shirts. While continuing to pursue his opportunities in this industry, he's found that in addition to looking for jobs, transition is a journey of the mind and spirit. And many of us are on that journey, but not openly talking about it, selling and promoting ourselves. He's decided to talk about that to help others on his journey and their journeys. And he gives presentations, writes a blog, and does podcasts as well to help inspire others that are going through the same journey. And he's got a BA in accounting and an MBA in finance, so near and dear to my heart as a finance guy. And we're glad to have Tyrone Griffin. Thank you, Tyrone.
Well, thank you very much for coming out tonight, and thank you for indulging me for a few minutes here to talk about transition. I want to get a few things straight. We're not going to talk about job search. Job search and transition are totally separate things. Job search is the tactics you use every day looking for a job. Whereas transition is what you go through every day. Transition is the thing that's really kicking our behinds, for lack of a better term. So tonight we're just going to talk about transition. I hope we can look at it a little differently. I hope we can laugh about it and put it in its proper place. And hopefully you'll feel a little energized tomorrow when you start your job search again. Well, first, I have 2 envelopes here. I'm going to give 2 things away. First envelope is going to the oldest person in the room. Now, who is the oldest person in the room? Anybody above 60, raise your hand. Okay, we got 1, just 1 above 60. Just 1, going once. Okay, here you go. Now, the second envelope is going to the person who has been in transition the longest. How long have you been in transition?
Long time. We wouldn't count the last time I quit my job. 5 years.
Okay, 5 years. Wow. Anybody beat 5 years?
Oh, yeah.
How long?
2003.
Is that 8 years? Anybody?
I would volunteer here, and I would like to send this back and let you give it to someone else.
Okay. Well, so.
You know what? It's fine because we got that much stuff like that. I think
Okay, well, you win this one. You can hand that back to her. And then this other one, who is the second oldest person in the room?
What about the person who's ageless?
Okay, I'll give it to her.
She's a
There
winner
you
for
go.
her.
Thank you. Now, reason I did that, because people, the oldest people, or older people, and people that have been in transition the longest, we're the ones that everybody says has the hardest time finding a job. You know, if you're a baby boomer and they say, well, you know, you're too old or whatever, if you've been out of work for 2 or 3 years and you think they hold that against you. My point is, you got something. I don't know what it might be nothing, it might be something substantial, but you got it just because you showed up. And the point is, in life, just show up. That's half the battle. A lot of people do not show up. So when you see a job you want, and you think, well, they won't hire somebody who's been out of work 2 years, or they won't hire somebody who is over 60. If you don't apply, if you don't show up, they win. And if a hiring manager is not going to hire you because of your age, or not going to hire you because of how long you've been in transition, then make them not hire you. And make them not hire you every day. Keep showing up. So, enjoy that. If you win something, I hope you'll split it with me. But the point is, you got that just for showing up. So, let's talk about this. Facts about transition. You are not here because you're incompetent. How many people felt when they got laid off that there was something wrong with them? There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There are people out here in transition that have master's degrees, PhDs, that were the top salesperson for the last 20 years, and they're laid off. There's nothing wrong with this. Don't let anybody make you feel that you got laid off because you're incompetent. Basically, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. I used to say, how did a lot of companies do their layoffs? They said, who wants to, they asked the question, who wants to keep their job? And everybody raised their hand, and you happen to be in the bathroom when they asked the question. So nobody raised their hand for you. It's that simple. It has nothing to do with your performance or anything else. Bad events don't always lead to bad outcomes. How many people here are afraid of losing their house, their TVs, their cars, whatever? Well, let me tell you a little story about a hut. There was a man who was the sole survivor of a plane crash. And he made his way to a desert island. And he went and got everything and rescued everything he could, salvaged everything he could from the crash. And he made a little hut. And he went out every day, he wrote SOS in the sand, trying to attract somebody to come rescue him. Nobody would. So he had his hut, and every day he went out and gathered, did fishing or whatever he did, and brought everything back to his hut. But one day as he's coming back to his hut was on fire. And the hut burned down. Now he's sitting there with nothing. All of his supplies, everything were in that hut. All of his everything. So he's sitting there on the sand. A couple hours later, a ship comes up and rescues him. He's like, thank you, but how did you know I was here? He said, well, we saw you smoke signals. The point is, he lost his house and it saved his life. So maybe when these bad things that you think are bad are happening to you, maybe they're not happening to you for just no particular reason. Maybe this could be the best thing to happen to you. You're not a job title. Remember when you were working and you go to a social event and people say, what's your name? And then the next thing they say, so what do you do? And your title, you were a manager, you were a business analyst, you were a trainer or whatever. And now you don't have those titles anymore. So now when you get up in the morning and look in the mirror, you're not looking at a manager or an analyst. You're looking at an unemployed person, but you're looking at who you really are. And that's the thing. You have to look in that mirror and decide and figure out who that person is. And what you realize is even when you were working, you were a person. You weren't a job title. The unemployment rate is not important. What's the unemployment rate right now? 10%, 9.9? It doesn't matter. It does not matter. It doesn't matter if it's going up or if it's going down. The only thing that matters is what side of that line you're on. If the unemployment rate is 1%, and you're that one person without a job, is it a good economy? No. If the unemployment rate is 99%, hypothetically, and you're that one person with a job, it's a great economy. The unemployment rate, it doesn't matter which way it's going, it does not matter. Okay, because for me personally, this economy is not going to get better until I get a job. This recession or depression or the giant suck, as I call it, it's not going to get better until I get a job. I don't care what they say about it ended in 2009. There's people with jobs saying it ended in 2009. Okay, ask us when did it end. Left field is your BFF. Does everybody know what a BFF is?
That's friends forever.
You got it. Who said it? Okay. The social media queen in the back said that. When you talk to people who land, and they say, you ask them, how'd you find out about this job? What do they always say? It came out of left field. It came from where you don't expect it. Opportunity is like that. When opportunity knocks, you don't know it's an opportunity. So you have to always be prepared. You go to meetings, everything you do with the assumption that this might be it. When you see somebody, when you network with somebody, network with the assumption that every one of these people I'm networking with, every one of these contacts might be the one that talks to someone else that gets me to my next position. Family and friends don't understand. Raise your hand if somebody in your family has asked you, Why don't you have a job? Okay. Have they asked you, what do you do all day? Okay. What do you watch on TV? They don't get it. You can't explain to somebody who's not in transition what it's like. How many people have had family or friends say, well, so-and-so got a job, why can't you get a job? You know, the one I love is, well, why don't you apply for a part-time job?
Or have you tried?
Exactly. Because when you apply for a part-time job at racetrack and don't get it, it hurts even worse. And it's worse when you go and see the kid that they did hire. Nothing against the young people in the room, but when you see some young guy with tattoos down his arm and he got the job and you have a master's degree. You know, I got a theory that the Walmart greeters that we see now, there's a lot of PhDs greeting people at Walmart. I have a theory that, I mean, Walmart will never admit to it, but I think, you know, it used to be, well, go get a job flipping burgers, or I'll be a Walmart greeter. I would love to be a Walmart greeter right about now. But I got a feeling that all of us are applying for Walmart greeter jobs. They're picking the cream of the crop. Value has a different meaning. When you were working, was Starbucks the best coffee in the world? When you had money coming in? Now, like $5 for a cup of coffee? How many, and I don't mean to be sexist, but how many women in this room has said, I don't need these boots, I want these boots? Okay. How many people, I don't need a new car, I just feel like a new car. Back when you were working, things, it's funny what was valuable. You know, how many Hummers you see driving around? People that are working. Gas is $4 a gallon. Hummers get 7 miles to the gallon. Think about that a minute. I mean, we're talking actually driving and seeing the needle move. Okay. But when you have income, it's amazing the value you put on these things. That now it's like, well, wait a minute. You know, when I drive by Starbucks now and I see that line going around Starbucks, I don't get it. But transition wakes you up. Now you have cooties. Okay? You don't think you have cooties? Let me ask you this question. How many people have contacted somebody they used to work with and they said, hey, don't call me at the work phone, call me at home. You know? Or people you used to go to lunch with 2 or 3 times a week. You ask them for a recommendation on LinkedIn and they say, well, can I email it to you? Can I just write it and give it to you? I don't want you to put it out there because I don't want anybody to see my name. You know, all of a sudden they don't want to touch you. The thing I have to say about that is sad, and it's not, well, the good thing is everybody in here, we all have cooties together, so you know, we don't have to worry about being afraid of each other. But when you encounter that, one thing I can say is this. You have to forget about the people that forgot about you. That might seem hard, harsh, and rude, but that's the reality of it. If your friends or work acquaintances don't want to be associated with you for whatever reason, don't be mad. Forget about them and keep moving forward. You have a goal. Your goal is to get a job. If they can't help you or don't want to talk to you or whatever, fine. Don't dwell on it. Just keep moving forward. I told you this wasn't about job search. Now, 6 phases of change. Anticipation, confrontation, realization, depression, acceptance, and enlightenment. How many people skipped the first 3? Okay, how many people are stuck on a depression? Depression is the inability to construct a future. It's that hopelessness when you feel like there's nothing out there for you. That's when you get depressed. The challenge in transition is to not get there. And see, the thing is, you know, some people sit home and watch Uncle Phil. Dr. Phil, he can't tell us about this because he's got a job. Good job, too. The only people who understand what this is like are people that are in it with you. It's like if you have a friend that goes to Iraq and they spend a year over in Afghanistan and they come home and people say, hey, tell me what it's like over there. I say, I can tell you, but I got to kill you. Because that's the only way for you to understand what it's like to be in the middle of a desert in a foxhole getting shot at by kids. When you can't sleep because you don't know when you're going to be overrun. If somebody asks you what's transition like, they don't have a frame of reference. You know, so again, why can't you find a job? You know, I've been out of work for a year. Somebody asked me, well, why can't you find a job in a year? I said, well, I didn't plan it like that. I didn't leave, and you know, when I left, I didn't think I'd be out a year. I know people have been out 2 years. You've been out 8 years? Somebody been out you've been out a long time.
In transition.
In transition, a long time. None of us planned this. None of us planned to be out 6 months. I mean, I left on a Friday. I planned to be back to work Monday. I planned that on the weekend I would get a lot of calls and I'd have something set by Monday morning. Didn't happen. This was not planned. The thing about that depression, we have to get through depression and get to, I don't know what enlightenment is. You got to get a job. But you got to get off depression. Now, here's the fun part. The top 10 things we hate about transition. Now, I just want you to tell me when I'm wrong. Number 10, recruiters who don't return our phone calls. Number 9, autoresponder rejection letters. You know those letters you get? I had a friend actually got a rejection email before they finished filling out the application. Okay? You still filling out the application and they go, nah, it's okay. Don't worry about it. That's like being in the middle of an interview and they go, you know what? Let's go home. Just go home. Just give us our water back. Oh, just go home. But you know what's worse than getting the rejection letters? Not getting a rejection letter. You follow up on a job, you had an interview 6 months ago, haven't heard a thing since. Part of you is still hoping that you're in the running. A bigger part of you knows you're not. I had a job I interviewed for and I followed up for 7 months. I knew after probably the 3rd month that they had somebody. But I was going to be a jerk. Every month I sent that hiring manager an email. Same email. How you doing? Just wanted to let you know, still interested in the opportunity, blah, blah. Have a good day. After 8 months, he finally got tired and had HR send me a letter saying, thank you, we've hired somebody, have a good day, bye. But see, that's the thing. One thing you learn in transition, and everybody in this room, when you get back to work and you interview somebody, and if you decide not to vote on, not to take that candidate, everybody in this room will send that person home. Because you know what it's like to be out here waiting and wondering and hoping. You know, when you can't shut that door on that position because you haven't heard anything. And in the back of your mind, you hope you're still in the running. Job fairs. How many people love job fairs? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to stay over on this side. Now, I've yet to hear anything good about job fairs. I've not been to one because the people that I know went to them. Huh?
Food.
Food?
Food. A lot of have food.
Oh, you stand in line for 5 hours, they feed you? Everybody I know who's been to one had something bad to say about it. And then I talked to some HR people about it, and they said, well, you know, you get to the front of the line, and what do they say? Well, you apply on the website. Well, wait a minute, I showed up, you know, in my suit. It's 96 degrees outside, and I'm standing here with 10 resumes on real good paper. And they say, well, no, we can't take it. You got to apply on the website. And yeah, I talked to some HR people about it, because HR people got laid off too. And they said it's got to do with some legal issues about why they can't accept resumes there. So then my question is, why are they having job fairs?
Why does the job fair require you to have a
Resume.
resume to get in the door?
What do you have to have a resume to be? Oh, why am I?
And I think it has to do with if they take your resume at that job fair, then they have some obligation to you. Not necessarily for a job, but to be considered. Whereas if you apply online, they can have the computer reject you and never see you. So. Okay, number 6. Experts who contradict each other. How many people have had resume reviews or LinkedIn reviews? Or if you give your resume to 10 people and you get it back, now you got 11 different resumes. Okay? LinkedIn review, you spend, or perfect example, you got the resume, they say your resume should be 1 page. So you spend hours on your resume, making the margin 1/4 inch to get, everything in there. And exactly, you're sending it out, nobody's sending it back. You're not getting any traction. And then you go to another resume reviewer and they go, well, here should be 2 pages. So you stop and you redo it, and you make it 2 pages, and you send that out, and you get nothing. And then you go to another resume reviewer and they say, well, you're using the wrong font. We're in the middle of this and everybody's telling us something different. Here's one. Interviews when you know they have an internal candidate. But you have to go anyway, right? I got called on an interview. They said, can you come in tomorrow? Okay, came in tomorrow. I had sent my resume 2 years earlier. Came in the next day, met with them. Said, okay, where are we at in the process? They said, well, it's going to take us a couple of weeks. Okay, fine. Followed up a week later. Oh, we've got a candidate already. We've already made an offer and he's accepted. Then it dawned on me. They had to interview somebody from outside before they could hire that internal candidate. That was the one. I was the lucky guy. Behavioral interviews. Yeah, what color is your brain, right? What kind of animal are you? That last Vistaprint business card. Okay? You get down to the last one and you realize you've given out 250 business cards and you don't have a job. I still got mine. I still got the last 3. I can't bring myself to order any new ones yet. So I'm going to Walmart and getting the Avery paper and printing them. Job seekers who don't know what 30 seconds is. I'm just saying. But you know what the thing we hate most in transition?
Yes, absolutely, brass ring.
Okay. Anybody don't know what Taleo is? You know when you apply online for a job? It says powered by Taleo. Huh?
My husband's director of talent, and they use that.
Oh, it's a great thing, isn't it? I had a friend who actually had a job, saw a job he wanted to apply for. It was a perfect match. And he spent 20 minutes sitting there looking at the screen because he saw their logo. And he said, is it worth the pain to apply for this? You ever had, you're applying for a job and the browser crash right before you hit submit? Or it freezes up and you have to hit undo or back and you go copy and paste and do all of this, and then you get to the last page where they say, would you like to upload your resume? And it's like, I just spent a half hour uploading piecemeal, now you ask me to upload the whole thing. Anyway, here's some tips for navigating transition. Own your journey and focus forward. This is a movie called The Gumball Rally. I like movies. You'll understand that very surely. I love movies. This is a movie about a race from New York to California. And Raul Julia was in the movie, and he has one scene where he says something very profound. He sits in his car, he reaches up, he grabs a mirror, he breaks it off, he throws it out the window, and he says, what's behind me is not important. What's behind us is not important. The jobs we had, not important anymore. All that's important is what's in front of us. You know, you already did the hardest thing you had to do today. What was the hardest thing you had to do today? Somebody would say it.
Get out of bed.
Get out of bed. That's the hardest thing. Because every day you get out of bed, hoping today is the day. And you go to bed at night and it wasn't today. And you got to get up tomorrow. This is a scene from the movie Slumdog Millionaire. And the young man had been chasing this woman for half his life. And he finally caught her and he said, I'm going to be at this train station every day until you show up. If you're not here today, I'll be there tomorrow. That's the kind of stamina you got to have in transition. If it doesn't happen today, it's going to happen tomorrow. And you got to keep doing that. Have a good attitude. Predator 2. In the Predator 2, Danny Glover kills the Predator by accident. And what happens? 6 more show up. And what does he say? Who's next? That's the attitude you got to have. When you get a rejection, okay, who's next? There's a certain number of no's you have to go through to get to your yes. So every time you get a no, that's one less off the list. And that's how you have to look at this. How do you handle adversity? Carrot, egg, coffee beans. There was a woman that was having marital trouble, life trouble, everything. Same kind of boat we're in. Everything she did blew up. She went to her mother and she says, honestly, I don't want to go on anymore. Because everything I touch blows up. Lost my job, lost my spouse, kids don't like me, go on and on and on. I don't get what the point of life is. So her mother says, come on in the kitchen. Puts 3 pots of water on the stove. The mother says, boil 3 pots of water. She puts them up there and boils them. After 20 minutes, the mother says, now put some carrots in one, put an egg in one, and put some coffee beans in one. She says, why? She said, just do it. She does that. Takes it out, 20 minutes later. Now the carrots were hard and stiff when they went in the water, right? Now they're mushy. They can't support themselves. The egg was a hard shell, but it was soft inside. It comes out, it's hard all the way through. The coffee beans changed the water. The very thing that was causing the adversity, the coffee beans made it better. Transition is our hot water, our boiling water, being in transition. Are we going to become like carrots and let it break us? Or are we going to become like eggs and turn into really hard and cold people? Or are we going to become like coffee beans and work with the water to make something better? This is your opportunity. And you have to look at it like this. Your opportunity to decide what you're going to do with the rest of your life. I mean, we all want a job. But this is more than just about getting a job. Because when we get back to work, remember that trust we had in companies? Company loyalty? Remember that? We don't have that anymore. Because if companies were loyal, this room would be empty. How many people in here were working 60 hours a week up until the day they got laid off? Okay. How many people were the top salesmen, had excellent reviews till the day they got laid off? How many people feel burned by that? And when you go back to work, how many people are going to not be able to commit themselves to the job like they used to? If there's any other time for you to be selfish, now's the time. I know that for the next 20 years, I'm going to be looking for a job. Even if I land my dream job tomorrow, I'm going to keep looking for that next job. Because you never know when you're going to get that tap on the shoulder. I will give them their day's work for the day's pay. But once you've been out here, it's like, you see the cartoons where the kid says, my eyes are burning. Once you've seen what transition is like, you can't unsee this. You can't unfeel this. Use this pain, to make the rest of your life better. Help other job seekers. There's nothing better when you feel bad. When you have one of those days when you really feel bad, there's nothing better than helping somebody else. Because what you will find is that there's always, always, always somebody worse off than you. I know people say, well, I'm about to lose my house, my spouse left, my kids are gone, and I'm going to have to go live with my brother in my brother's basement. Well, at least you got a brother with a basement. You wanted to see a real example of people that got it worse? Think about what happened in Japan about a month and a half ago. They had an earthquake, then a tsunami, and then a nuclear reactor blew up. Now imagine, first you see your house shaking, and then you see it float away, and then you see a mushroom cloud. You think you got it bad? There's always, always somebody that has it worse. So don't feel sorry for yourself. Do not feel sorry for yourself, because there's always somebody who has a worse situation than you. Be optimistic. Be the smiley face in the sea of sadness. Remember I talked about left field? There's nothing worse than meeting a superior opportunity with an inferior attitude. You know, that person you run into at Starbucks or Panera Bread, and they say, "How you doing?" And you rumble, "I had a bad day." And you find out that person was the CEO of a company that you've been trying to get into for the last 2 months. You only have one chance to make the first impression. Your attitude is the most important thing you have. It's more important than that LinkedIn profile. It's more important than your resume, your business cards, your cover letter, or your marketing plan. It's your attitude. There have been people who've gotten jobs based on their attitude. No qualifications, but somebody said, "I like your attitude. We'll find a place for you in this company." Embrace your crazy. How many people in here are crazy? Okay. For those who didn't raise their hands, I got a question for you. How many people have applied for a job they didn't want and got depressed when they didn't get it? Happened. Just applied for a job because you said, "Well, I know they'll give me an interview," and then they don't. You're overqualified. That's crazy. It's the job, the racetrack, exactly. If I apply for a job and don't get an interview, and trust God. For you younger people, before God was Morgan Freeman, he was George Burns. Right? They actually made a sequel to this movie. Okay. Yeah, Oh God, Book 2, right? Spend your time in transition. Do the journey. Don't let the journey do you. You're here, like I tell my son, you got to go to school for 8 hours a day. You might as well learn something. You're in transition, you might as well get something out of this. Volunteer, help others, stay busy. Sometimes, even if your busy isn't productive busy, it's still okay. It doesn't have, everything you do doesn't have to be geared toward job search. Some things are geared toward transition. Sometimes it just feels good to go cut your grass. Sometimes it feels good to just clean the house. That's about getting through transition, not about looking for a job. Laugh, cry, stomp. You want to have a pity party? Have one. I have it. But don't make it a week-long celebration. It's not Mardi Gras. It's a pity party. I had a pity party a couple of weeks ago after an interview for a job in Birmingham. And I mean, I had a pity party. I catered my pity party, okay? It was good. It was a good one. But again, the next day I got up, okay, cleaned up, and kept going. Don't be embarrassed. We all grew up with the idea that being unemployed was like a scarlet letter. If you can't find a job, that means, you know, something wrong with you. No, doesn't mean that anymore. What they say, the unemployment rate is 10%. It's really, we know it's really like 23 or 24%. You ever look at the people who are still working and go, how are they working? And I'm not here. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. It wasn't because of incompetence that you ended up out here. It was being in the wrong place at the wrong time. We did what they told us to do. We got the degrees. We worked hard, and we stayed with company. I was with one company for 18 years. We stayed with our job. We gave everything they told us to give. And then everything went upside down. So it's not a mark. If somebody tries to make you feel bad about it, don't. And what's that saying? You can't make me feel bad without my permission. I'm out here in transition. I didn't ask to be here. I didn't plan to be here. I'm here. I'm not here. I can show you my last review that is excellent. And a lot of us have that same situation where you can show how you were the top person. Build your network up and down. What I mean by that is, don't just network with people who you can use. Network with people that can use you. Give back. Keep your sanity. Well, that's self-explanatory. That's right. Celebrate your milestones. What milestones? How many people have made their first mistake in an interview? Nobody. Just one mistake, at least one mistake. Celebrate it. How many people have gotten probably 50 rejection letters? Celebrate it. I just finished I completed my first year. I celebrated. I didn't do big. I went and got a wonton soup, got my chopsticks, and I had my celebration party. But if you don't celebrate, then it's depressing. Okay? So your first year out here, your second year, celebrate it. Because that will energize you to keep going the next day. Because there's nothing like starting the second year and you're depressed about the first year. You can't do nothing about that first year, it's past. Look forward. Find out who you are. Hit the button too fast. Remember I said you're looking in the mirror you don't have an employee ID with a badge, with your picture on it, saying who you are, what department you work in, what division you're in. And if your stripe is red or blue or whatever, that you get access to the company. You don't have that. All you have is you. There was a movie in the 80s or the 70s called Altered States, where they put this guy in an isolation tank and, filled with water, and it was dark, you couldn't see anything. And he had nothing to reflect himself off of, so he didn't know what he was. And he turned into, the movie's weird, he turned into a monster, kind of weird. But my point is, that's how you are. You're like in an isolation tank. You don't have anything to reflect off anymore. You don't have a badge to say, this is what I am. You have to find out who you really are. Networking and transition. How many people here don't like to go out or how many people here are shy? Simple question. Who don't like to be the first one to go out and meet people? This quote, then the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. Think about you're in a room with a bunch of CEOs and a bunch of people networking, and you're afraid to go talk to people because you're shy. But you see everybody else running and doing it and making connections. And you realize, if I don't do this, I can't support my family. Shy is one thing. You put your family on the line, you will be surprised what you'll do. So get over that. There's tons of places to network while you're in transition. Your church, your school, birthday parties, baby showers. There's a list of 12, 14 things up there. Places where you can network. Over your fence, that's the one I love. How many people didn't tell their neighbors that they were laid off for at least a month? These are the people that you talk to all the time, but they never knew you were laid off. And when you told them, they said the same thing. Why do you tell them? It's that whole embarrassment thing. What's more embarrassing, being unemployed or having that moving truck come up to your house that you didn't order, and those guys go in and take your stuff out? Get over the embarrassment. Get over it. Now, when you do land, a couple of things to remember. You will all land. Continue to trust God. Call him God, call him Allah, call him Buddha, whatever you want to call him. Trust that there is a higher power at work. Once you accept that, okay, when he's ready, if she's ready for me to have a job, I'll have it. Give informational interviews. How many people find it hard to cold call somebody and ask them for 15 minutes at a time? Now how hard that is. Now when you get back to work and somebody calls you, remember that the person on the other end of that phone probably spent 4 hours agonizing over how to ask you for 15 minutes of your time. So if they ask for 15 minutes, give them 20. Remember how you feel right now. A lot of people want to forget this. They want to put this away and not remember this. Remember how you feel. Continue building your network. Be career selfish. It's all about those bullets on your resume, those accomplishments. So your next job, look at what you can do to build your accomplishments. Work and live like you might end up in transition again. What I mean by that is, remember 2 years ago when gas was $4 a gallon and everybody stopped driving? We had shortages and people would say, well, if I'm going somewhere, I'm going to go to church, and away from church, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make all these trips in one. Now gas is $4 a gallon. Nobody's saying nothing. When you get back to work, the things that you have learned now about saving money, how many people are spending a whole lot less money now? Okay? Because you don't have it coming in. Now, the worst thing you can do is when you get back to work, go right back to what you used to do. It's the worst thing you can do. You've learned what you need now. You know, yeah, I would love to be out there on Black Friday, 4 o'clock in the morning, standing in line at Walmart. But I don't need a 42-inch flat screen TV. You learn now what you need versus what you want. Don't ask anyone how this job search is going. You know how you feel right now when somebody says, hey, how's the job search going? And it's like, you know what? When you see me doing backflips, you know I got a job. Until you see me doing backflips, don't ask. When you land a job and you know somebody's looking, don't ask them, how's it going? Ask them, what can I do to help you?
And stop telling them what they have to do.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, we all get told exactly what we're supposed to do to go find a job by people who never had to go look for a job in this economy. Keep your resume up to date. Once a quarter, once a month, look at it. Act like you're still looking for a job, because Georgia is an at-will work state. Tap me on the shoulder anytime. You know, it's not personal. That's the thing. This was not personal. This transition was not personal. It wasn't about us. It was about bottom lines and a whole lot of other things. Buy an Evil Bunny water bottle. If you don't know what an Evil Bunny water bottle is, you will know shortly. And continue to trust God. Bunny slippers are evil. This is my website. Now, why are bunny slippers evil? Because if it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you got on your bunny slippers, you're not looking for a job. If you have on, and see, bunny slippers is not just about job search. It's about life. How many women in here, you don't have to show many hands, some guy courted you, and he was a perfect gentleman. He opened doors, he did not everything. And then you married him, or you started dating him, and he changed. He stopped doing those things. It's human nature. My point with the bunny slippers is whatever you thought it was worth doing to achieve a goal, it's worth doing to keep it. How many people have you known that 90-day probation period on a job, that first 90 days they're showing up a half hour early, they're leaving an hour late, they're doing everything they can for everybody they can. And then they get past the 90 days, and all of a sudden they're a half hour late. They put on the bunny slippers. Bunny slippers is about being diligent. It's about doing what you're supposed to do forever. It's about not relaxing. You know, I want a 7 Series BMW. I still want one. But trust me, the day I get one, everything I could ever imagine is paid for. House, kids' education, grandkids' education, everything. There's a certain, people say, I want to save this much money. So they bring their lunch and, they do these things to save money. And then when they hit that goal, what do? They go right back to what they used to do. And they start eating out again, and, people give up Starbucks for Lent because it's something that they know they shouldn't do. They shouldn't spend $5 a day. As soon as Lent's over, what do? They go back and start spending. If a goal is worth attaining, it's worth keeping. So in life, do not put your bunny slippers on, because that's when you kick back and you put your feet up. When I say get a bunny slipper water bottle, it's because I don't want you to forget this. I don't want you 6 months after you get a new job to say, oh, I'm done, I'm set. I went by my first year, I'm set. I don't have to do anything. I want you to have something to remember this time. I don't want you to forget this time. As painful as this is, do not forget this, because when you forget it, you will start doing things that will encourage you to get back in this situation. How many people have been laid off 2 or 3 times? Okay? Don't it suck? Every time. But at least when you come back, you're like, okay, I know what to do. We all might be in that situation. It's one thing to be there because somebody else just said, get rid of that department. It's another thing to end up back here because you put on your bunny slippers. How many people here think it was their fault they came back? See? But imagine if you have to tell your family you got laid off because you got lazy. When I was at the true story, they laid off, they fired a bunch of people. People were going in the cafeteria, and you go pick your food up. One guy would take 2 hamburgers, eat one, and pay for the other. Now imagine having to tell your family you lost your job because you were stealing a hamburger every day. Just like the bunny slippers. Imagine having to rationalize in your own mind that you got laid off because you got lazy. Lay me off for a lot of things. You're not going to lay me off for being lazy. Working a job is only 40 or 50 hours a week. How many hours a week you put in transition? It's 168 hours a week. How many people will wake up 1 o'clock in the morning and go check their email to see if a job came in, to see if somebody wants an interview? You don't do that when you're working. So, the whole idea behind the bunny slippers is to be diligent, to keep going. Finally, here's notes for this presentation. Let me summarize it all up for you. Number 1, trust God. Number 2, do your journey, don't let it do you. Help others, give, and you shall receive. There's no better feeling than helping somebody. And if you help people in transition, people will look out for you. Because we all know if somebody's selfish, if somebody's only about networking for their own good, we don't help them. We don't say anything, but we don't help them. And isn't it a great feeling when somebody sends you an email and say, hey, I'm still working on getting a contact for you over here? That's a great feeling. So help other people. Help each other. Be optimistic. Make your own luck. Luck is when preparedness meets opportunity. That's what luck is. It's when opportunity knocks and you happen to be standing at the door. Network, network, network. Now, besides these presentations, I do a whole lot of things. This is how I keep busy. I know, and I'm looking for a job too, believe it or not. But I ask you to go to my website. There are a lot of things. There's resources. How many people are on Cobra for insurance? Nobody good. But I have a link there for where you can get insurance quotes, for health quotes that are pretty cheap. There's links on articles and LinkedIn and Career Builder about your resume and all kinds of things. Go look at the resources. There's a ton of them there. It's all free. I do a podcast every Saturday morning called Bunny Slippers Are Evil, Job Seekers Podcast. It's not on the radio, it's on the internet. But if you go to the website, you can listen to it. It's all about transition. I did a show, one of the most listened to shows I've done was on coupons. Okay. Couponing 101, I called it. That was, because I get the stats, that was one of the most listened to shows. People say, that's got nothing to do with job search. I said, nope, it doesn't. It has nothing to do with job search. It has everything to do with transition. Transition is what's kicking us. Job search is easy. Looking for a job is easy. All the tactics you need to look for a job is transition is hurt. So that's why I do the podcast. Again, it's free as well. It's also in iTunes. I got a Facebook page. I'm on LinkedIn. Tyrone Griffin, MBA. Link into it. I got about 600 contacts right now. If I can help you in any way, let me know. You see something in my group and you want to meet somebody, let me know. See what else I do. I have 2 blogs, one on transition and one on investing for non-investors. Why do I do a blog on investing? Because think about how many people in here have a pot of money that you're peeling on to survive. But that pot of money is sitting in the bank at 2%. Just something to think about. Anyway, that's the presentation. If you were looking for job search tips, I'm sorry, this was the wrong place to come. I hope this has been enjoyable, enlightening, refreshing. I hope you feel a little better about your transition. I thank you for your patience. Thank you for laughing at the jokes. Thank you for understanding what I'm talking about. And I wish all of you the very best in your job station. Thank you.